Welcome back to Everyday Lessons in the Bible. Today I was in Isaiah 47 and 48. And this one starts out talking about Babylon has fallen. And it makes me think about in today's time, whether it's religion or church or just in your life in general or the governmental systems, the systems in place that keep you bound, keep you from fully being who God has called you to be. Like in religion, you're following these strict rules and not having an actual relationship with the Lord. And it is talking about how eventually you will be exposed. The systems will be exposed. The old concepts will crumble and be swept away by God. So like it says, your nakedness shall be uncovered and your disgrace shall be seen. That makes me think about how God will eventually expose the wrong. Like in the churches today, there are not all churches, but some churches are teaching falsely. They are changing the word of God. They are distorting it. They're making things okay that are not okay. And, God really warns you about that repeatedly in the scriptures to not do stuff like that. And so it's just, I kind of am relating that to that today with the Babylon has fallen and the nakedness will be uncovered. Our God is our Redeemer. He's the Lord of hosts, and He is the Holy One of Israel. And so we just have to always know to have a relationship with the Lord so that we can know what's true, what's right, and stop listening to what other people say that try to tell you what's right, what's wrong. God is the truth. He is the only truth. It's not your truth. It's not somebody else's truth. It's God's truth. It's the only truth. And God will turn you over to your sin. He will let you do what it is that you want to do, and then you will have to face the consequences of that. But then what it also says in here is when you get turned over to that sin, like He allowed the children of Israel to be turned over to Babylon, then He came back to Babylon. He's like, I allowed my children to be turned over to you, to be turned over to their sin, so they could understand and see Him, see God. And so He's like, but look at what you did to them. You had no mercy on them. And so then His vengeance comes upon them. His vengeance is upon Babylon for what they did to the children of Israel. So I think about us, and I think about when we get caught up in sin in our lives, and how devastating that can be sometimes because we're like blinded by the enemy. I look at that and think, but when we do get pulled back out of it, God's vengeance will be on those that turned us, that wooed us into evil or wrong or whatever that thing is in your life, And God is always with us, and He sees everything. We can think that God doesn't see what we're doing, but He always sees everything. And we have to also remember, which we've said repeatedly, our Redeemer stands ready to restore, revive. He is always there for us, ready to take us back. For those that have a hunger and have passionate hearts for the Lord. And you cannot deliver yourself. God is your deliverer. He is always trying to show Himself to us. He's wanting us to know that we can trust Him and believe in Him and that He is there for us always. And God will tell you things for your future that don't make any sense. You're like, oh my gosh, there's no way. But then when it happens, then that helps strengthen your faith, because then you're like, okay, God did really speak to me, because He told me this thing that could never happen. And then it did happen. And so it's a way for God to always prove Himself to you and show you that you can trust him. You can believe in him. He is who he says he is. And so we can give God all the glory when those things happen in our lives. And God allows you to go through the refiner's fire to get the impurities out of your life. But he also knows when it's time to take you out, because sometimes, we're not getting it. And so maybe he'll take you out and give you a break. Or sometimes he allows you to keep going through it because he knows what's on the other side for you. The furnace of adversity is to make us more like Christ. And so it's so hard to go through the refiner's fire in our life, but it's so worth it when you get to the other side, because when all the impurities and junk in your life get out and all you have is being the reflection of Christ, that's beautiful. That's glorious. And that's the place we should want to strive to get to, and allow the impurities out of our life and to go through that fire. And God promises to deliver, to refine, and rescue his people so that his own name and identity as the God of gods will not be defamed. And it says in here, I am the first and I am the last. My hand laid the foundation of the earth, and my right hand spread out the heavens when I call to them. They stand forth together. How beautiful is that? And so God is the one who teaches you. He is the one who directs your steps. And the enemy, to me, is Babylon, which means confusion. So the enemy is trying to do what he's always done. He doesn't have any new tricks. He's always trying to confuse you and make you focus on the systems of the world instead of the authority and love and goodness and grace and the kingdom of heaven. He's trying to keep your eyes focused on what he wants you focused on instead of focused on God. And so he is the Babylon, like I said, Babylon means confusion. So he's trying to constantly keep you in a state of confusion. And you'll see more about what Babylon means in Revelations. It talks about that a lot in Revelations. But anyway, I just think that if we can focus our hearts on the Lord and meditate on the Word of God, it will start removing the confusion in your life. And we can sing shouts of joy because of all the goodness and grace that God has on our lives for each of us today.